And then she passed it to Olivia when she puked all over her face.
What kind of a virus makes a person cut off their face with a piece of glass?
The movie begins with one girl walking alone in the woods. Blood is dripping from her hands, and she is badly injured. She notices someone is following her, so she hides behind a tree. Suddenly, one man covers her head from behind and takes her down. After that, another man hits her head with a shotgun stock and knocks her out. When she gains consciousness, she is tied down to a wooden pillar in a room. An old lady sacrifices a cat, following some sort of ritual from an evil book. One man comes forward carrying the shotgun and removes the cover from the girl's head. That man is the father of that same girl. He is helping those hillbillies perform this bizarre ritual. The girl begs him to help her and asks about her mom's condition, and the man says her mom is dead and she is the one who killed her. Following the evil book's ritual, the old lady orders the man to burn his daughter alive. So the man pours gasoline all over his own daughter's body. The girl cries and begs her father not to do this, but the man doesn't listen to her and starts to strike a match. Seeing this, the girl says,
"Please stop! I will rip your soul out, Daddy."
Finally, the man strikes a match, and suddenly the girl takes on an evil form and starts cursing him. The man is startled, so he drops the match and the fire starts to spread all over the evil girl's body. In a demonic voice, she keeps cursing him and screams in pain. And to set her free, the man aims the shotgun and blows her head off. Then the scene shifts to the present time. In one remote forest, a group of friends is gathered at a cabin. David comes with his girlfriend Natalie, and he also brings his family dog, Grandpa. David's old friends Olivia and Eric were already there, and they welcome him. They are meeting him after a very long time, because he lives in a city and works in a car garage, whereas Olivia is a nurse and Eric is a high school teacher. David's younger sister Mia is also there, and they are also meeting with each other after a long time. They talk for a while, and David gives her a necklace. Mia is a drug addict, so they all are gathered in that cabin to help Mia overcome her drug addiction. That cabin belonged to David's and Mia's parents, and they used to come there a lot when they were younger. In her room, Mia looks at the old photographs and David also comes there. From their conversation, it is revealed their mom was mentally ill and she died in a mental hospital, counting her last days wishing to see David. But at that time, David got a new job in a city, so he was unable to come to see his dying mom. Since Mia was the only one to look after her dying mom, she got depressed and started taking drugs to relieve her mind. And because of this, she is really disappointed with his brother. Later, David finds out from Eric and Olivia that Mia tried to quit drug last summer too, but she failed after just 8 hours. Then she overdosed and technically died, but EMTs brought her back using a defibrillator. So Olivia tells David that this is their last chance, and they may even have to use force to control her when she breaks down. Now the night falls with continuous rain and storm. Mia keeps complaining that she can smell something really bad and it is driving her crazy. Everyone thinks it's a withdrawal symptom, so to relax her, Olivia gives her a shot of sedative. At that same time, Grandpa starts scratching the carpet, so David removes it and finds a hidden door to a basement which was covered in blood. David and Eric go down to check the basement, and they see lots of rotten, dead cats hanging. It is the same room that was shown at the beginning of the movie. They also find the same shotgun and the evil book, which is wrapped up securely with barbed wire. David tells the girls not to panic, and later he will clean up all the mess. Next day, the rain keeps pouring, and Mia walks around outside the cabin soaking wet in the rain, trying to keep herself calm. And inside the cabin, Eric opens that evil book and finds out that the book's name is Naturum de Monto. He finds a page of forbidden passage, and there are warnings to not read it. The passage was covered up to prevent others from reading it, but Eric could still feel the trail of those words. So Eric uses pencil and paper to recover the letters of the passage, and as soon as he recovers one word, he reads it out. Each time he reads out the spell, one mysterious evil force comes closer to Mia. When Eric reads out the last word of the passage, an evil force comes face to face with Mia, and Mia starts throwing up. Then she sees that evil force's figure deep in the woods, and that figure calls out her name. Mia is totally freaked out, so she starts packing her things. Mia tells others that she wants to go, but everyone tells her she can't leave the cabin. She then requests David, but seeing Mia giving up this quickly, he also refuses. Now Mia is more disappointed and angry with David, so she rips out that necklace and throws it away. Mia then secretly takes a car key and goes to her room. Eric goes to Mia's room to console her, but he sees that Mia has already escaped from the window. They hear the car starting and see Mia driving away. Mia is driving speedily in frustration, and suddenly the same evil figure shows up in front of her. So she loses control of the car and crashes into a small pond. After some time, she wakes up and tries to get out of the pond. And just like before, some evil force starts coming towards her. When she crawls out of that pond, she hears David and Olivia shouting out her name. So she turns back to see, and suddenly the same evil demon jumps out of the pond. Mia runs from there, and the evil force starts chasing and calling out her name. Mia then trips and falls down in a thorny bush. She tries to get out of there, but those thorny plant grabs her and starts to wrap around her body. Then the evil demon appears in front of her. That demon looks just like Mia, and it spits out a thorny plant from its mouth. That thorny plant slithers like a snake and enters inside her private part. Mia screams in pain and slowly gets possessed. After some time, David and Olivia come there searching for her and find her sitting under a tree. They bring her back into the cabin and start to discuss about her condition. Everyone thinks they should take Mia to the hospital, but Olivia says it's a withdrawal symptom. Mia can make different excuses and act crazy to get out of here. But we have to be strong and help her overcome this. Since Olivia is a nurse, everyone listens to and agrees with her. David then goes into Mia's room to check on her. Mia tells David that there is something evil in the forest, so they should all get out of here. David thinks Mia is only making excuses, so he tells Mia to be strong and leaves to let her take some rest. Eric is still studying that evil book and sees the pictures that resemble Mia's statement, so he gets little worried. David finishes cleaning up the basement, and while taking out the trash, he sees a blood trail. He follows it and sees Grandpa lying and groaning in pain inside a small tunnel. That tunnel was connected above the shed. So David goes inside the shed and pulls up dying Grandpa. He sees a bloody hammer right next to the hole, and he thinks Mia did this to Grandpa. So in anger, David goes inside to confront her. Mia is in a shower, so David starts banging on the door and orders Mia to come out. But inside, Mia is acting weird and she is scalding herself in boiling hot water. David forcefully opens the door and sees Mia shaking unconsciously under the hot shower, and her skins are all burned up. David then takes a jeep to take Mia to the hospital. Now Eric has a doubt, so he checks the evil book and notices Mia is doing the same thing that a possessed person is forced to do. Due to the continuous rain and storm, the road is flooded and inaccessible. So David is unable to take Mia to the hospital, and seeing this, Mia gives an evil smile, meaning Mia is now fully possessed. Then David takes Mia back to the cabin, and Olivia gives her a sedative to make her fall asleep. Olivia says Mia's condition is really bad because she may have second or even third-degree burn. Natalie blames Olivia for not listening to Mia, and David tries to cool down the situation. At the same time, Mia slowly walks towards them by dragging the shotgun. She starts to act weird, and David tells her to put down the gun. But Mia slowly points out the gun toward David and fires it. David gets shot in his shoulder, and an invisible force opens the door and comes inside the cabin with a gust of wind. Mia screams, and one demonic voice says, "One by one we will take you." Then suddenly Mia stops screaming, the wind stops, the door gets closed, and Mia says,
You are all going to die tonight.
And falls down. David tells others to take the gun before Mia takes it again. So Olivia tries to take it, but Mia grabs her hand. Then she gets on top of Olivia and throws up blood all over her face. Olivia pushes her down to the basement, and Eric quickly locks its door. They hear Mia trying to hurt herself by banging into something. Olivia is surprised because she gave Mia a very powerful sedative that could even put a horse in a deep sleep. David says it is still not enough and asks to give her more sedative. So Olivia goes to the washroom to get it ready. When she is preparing the dose, the cabinet's door slowly closes and the evil form of her appears in the mirror and it shatters. Olivia is scared and quickly tries to get out of that room, but she suddenly stops and freezes. Olivia slowly gets possessed, and that room's door closes by itself, making a very loud noise. Natalie is taking out the shotgun's pallets from David's shoulder, so Eric goes to check on Olivia. Eric hears some noises coming out of a washroom, so he slowly opens the door, but it was all dark. He turns on the light, but because of the water from the rain, the light starts to flicker. When Eric reaches near Olivia, he sees she had cut her face with a piece of mirror's glass. Eric is shocked and slowly backs off. He steps into Olivia's cut-off flesh, and because of that he slips and falls on his back in the toilet. Olivia then stabs Eric's chest with a glass, and then she takes a syringe and keeps hitting on Eric's face and eye. Eric pushes back Olivia, and her head knocks into the toilet, breaking a piece of it, and she passes out when the back of her head hits in the shower curb. Eric slowly takes out the syringe's needle that had penetrated right below his eye. Then he sees Olivia crawling towards him to kill. He picks up that broken piece of commode and keeps pounding on her head. Then Natalie and David come there, and they are in total shock seeing that horrific scene. After that, David and Natalie take Eric inside a shed. David pulls out the glass from Eric's chest, and it keeps bleeding heavily. So David tells Natalie to get some water and sugar from the cabin. Then Eric tells David that he read a passage from that book, and he may have released something evil. Inside the cabin, Natalie takes out some sugar and water, and she hears a big thud sound. She sees the basement's door is open, so she quickly grabs sugar and water, and when she is about to get out, Mia pleads with Natalie to help her from the basement. Natalie sees Mia crying and hugging her knees, so she slowly walks down the stairs to help Mia. But slowly Mia's voice changes into a demonic voice. Natalie freaks out and tries to get out, but Mia pulls her down into the basement. Natalie was passed out, and when she wakes up, Mia starts to lick her legs. Natalie finds a box cutter and tries to defend, but Mia snatches that box cutter and bites her hand. Then Mia splits her tongue with that box cutter and starts kissing Natalie. At the same time, David opens the basement's door and Natalie quickly gets out of there. Mia starts cursing David and seeing the evil form of her. David barricades the door with a chain. After that, David sees Eric trying to burn that evil book in his room, but there seems to be no effect of fire on it. Eric then tells David about the book. He says, "Once this demon feasts on 5 souls, the sky will bleed again and abomination will rise from hell. This thing is attached to Mia's soul like a leech and is slowly consuming her. So in order to stop this, we may have to kill her." David thinks this is all nonsense, and they start to argue about it. In the kitchen, Natalie is cleaning her hand where Mia had bitten it very deeply. Suddenly, the infection starts spreading all over her hand, and slowly, she starts to get possessed. Mia is watching this from the partially open door, and Natalie gains consciousness. She sees an electric knife right beside her and takes it. Mia tells her not to cut off her hand. So Natalie assumes that if she cut off her hand, she will be okay. So she starts cutting her hand. When the bone gets completely separated, Natalie screams in pain and blood splatters everywhere, causing to short-circuit the light. David and Eric come to check on Natalie, and they are in total shock seeing Natalie's barely hanging hand. And that hand falls off from her arm. Mia is chuckling in the basement, which means she wanted Natalie to cut off her hand and see her suffering in pain. Then David wraps duct tape around Natalie's arm, and she is too stunned and becomes unresponsive. Eric then checks that evil book and says to David, "In order to stop this, possessed person's soul must be cleansed, and there are 3 ways to do it. First way, live burial. Second way, bodily dismemberment. And the third way, purification by fire." But David still doubts it, and he doesn't want to kill his sister, so again they start to argue about this. Natalie then suddenly comes from behind and starts shooting in her own face with a nail gun. Natalie is now fully possessed, and she starts shooting Eric and David. Both try to dodge and hide, but Natalie finds Eric and keeps shooting him. Then David comes from behind and knocks her down on the floor. Then they take out some nails from their bodies and notice that Natalie has disappeared. Eric tells David to take the gun before Natalie does. So David crawls to get the gun, but Natalie comes from behind with a crowbar and starts hitting him. To save David, Eric takes the nail gun and shoots Natalie. And now she slowly walks toward Eric. Eric keeps shooting her with the nail gun, but there is no effect on her. Now the nail gun is empty, and Natalie keeps hitting Eric with a crowbar. When she is about to strike a final blow, David blows her hand off with the shotgun. David reloads the gun and tries to shoot her again, but the demon releases her body and she comes back in her normal form. Then she slowly crawls towards David, asking why is he doing this to her, and she dies in his arms. David then takes Eric outside and tells him he will do what he is supposed to do. So he goes inside and sprinkles gasoline to burn down the cabin. As he is about to light it down, Mia starts to sing a lullaby that their mother used to sing in their childhood. Hearing this, David is unable to burn down that cabin. Suddenly, a lightning strikes a tree. David sees that tree is starting to burn, and now he comes up with another idea. He goes inside a shed and makes a defibrillator using an old battery and other materials. He then digs a grave under that burning tree. Then he goes inside the basement to look for Mia with an injection of sedative in his hand. The basement is filled with water because of the rain, and David sees a small stone tank filled with water in the corner of a room. He checks it, but finds nothing, and as he turns back, Mia comes in front of him by levitating and starts slashing him with a box cutter. Then Mia throws David around the room and tries to drown him in that stone tank. Eric comes from behind and knocks Mia out with a crowbar, but Mia had also stabbed Eric in the stomach. David injects sedative into Mia so that she doesn't wake up and checks on Eric, and finally Eric also dies after suffering from all the injuries. David leaves Eric in the basement and brings Mia outside the cabin. He covers Mia's head with a plastic bag and also changes her clothes. Then he starts burying Mia in a grave. Mia wakes up in the middle of it and tries to persuade David not to do this. But David now knows that the current Mia is not her real sister, so he ignores and buries her. After some time, when Mia's heart stops beating, David feels the demonic presence has disappeared. So he digs her up and tries to bring her back by using the defibrillator. He gives her multiple shocks, but Mia does not seem to respond. So he thinks Mia is really dead. He covers her face, and when he is about to go inside the cabin, Mia calls his name. Mia is now back to normal, and David is relieved seeing her alive. They think everything is over, and they get ready to leave. David goes inside the cabin to get the car key and sees their group photograph. He takes out that photograph, and suddenly the possessed Eric stabs his neck with a cutter plier from behind. David gets out of that room by limping, and Mia notices this. So she gets inside to help him but completely freezes after seeing possessed Eric. David hands her a car key and pushes her out of the cabin. He tells Mia to get out of here and locks the door from inside. Then he sees Eric slowly approaching him to kill, and he finds a shotgun right next to the sofa. He takes that gun and shoots in the gasoline container, igniting the entire cabin on fire and killing both of them. Mia is now all alone, crying outside the burning cabin, and she finds the necklace that she had ripped off before. She realizes that David fixed it, so she feels guilty of her action and starts crying. Suddenly, a drop of blood drops on her hand, and the blood of rain starts to fall. Mia is a bit confused, and suddenly someone grabs her hand from under the ground. She gets scared and backs off and sees the abomination coming out of the ground. Just like the book has mentioned, after the Feast of 5 Souls, the sky is bleeding and the abomination has arisen from hell. Mia quickly gets in a jeep but struggles to start it. Abomination breaks the window glass and starts attacking her. So Mia tries to get out of another door, but Abomination grabs her leg and that grabbed part starts to burn from its touch. Somehow Mia manages to get out of the jeep and she goes inside the tunnel. Abomination keeps following her, so she quickly crawls and climbs up inside the shed. There she finds a machete and chainsaw. She takes the chainsaw and tries to start it, but it is out of gas. She quickly fills it with gasoline, and when she tries to put on the lid, it falls and rolls down, and she sees Abomination almost out of the hole. Abomination tries to attack her, but Mia backs off and goes to the other side of the partition wall and blocks the way. She then tries to start the chainsaw, but Abomination starts attacking with the machete from the other side. Mia somehow breaks the wooden wall of the shed and gets out of there. Then she hides behind the jeep. Abomination slowly comes closer to her, so she goes under the jeep and finally the chainsaw starts. When Abomination comes in the side of the jeep, Mia slices its both legs. She then tries to crawl out from another side, but Abomination lifts the jeep with only one hand and rolls it over. Mia tries to dodge it by rolling over, but the jeep falls right into her left hand. Mia screams in pain and tries to free her hand, and because of that her skin and muscles start to tear. Mia sees Abomination slowly crawling towards her, so she tries to grab the chainsaw but misses by a few inches. She then forcefully pulls her hand to free herself, and finally her hand detaches. Mia picks up the chainsaw and Abomination comes close to her and says, "I will feast on your soul." In reply to that, Mia says,
"Face on this motherfucker!"
and rams the chainsaw in Abomination's mouth. She then keeps sawing its body and finally splits Abomination in half. The ground slowly swallows up the Abomination and the rain of blood stops. After that, Mia picks up the necklace and wears it. Then she looks at the morning sunshine and slowly walks out from there. But the evil book still remains unaffected and closes by flipping its pages on its own, and the movie ends. So guys, this was the movie, Evil Dead. It is a supernatural horror movie that was released in 2013, and it is the fourth installment in the Evil Dead film series. It's a really good horror movie. The story is typical and the gore scene shown in this movie is pretty damn good. It also showed the relationship between friends and siblings in a very nice way. What do you guys think about this movie? Comment down your thoughts and subscribe the channel for more movie break.